another episode of The Man Space. Coach Marson and I take great pleasure and serious responsibility in having conversations with gentlemen from all over the world so that we create a space and a place for men to be able to talk about what drives them, what trauma they have faced, how have they overcome it, and what does a support system look like, and how men can support one another. Because we live in a world where boys and men are told, don't show emotion, don't talk about emotion, right? And we forget that men are also human, and as human, we're feeling creatures who happen to think and act. So it's so important for Coach Marson and I in creating this space. We honor our guests, we honor their journey, and honor their message so that we build this community of men that truly is going to support each other and shine a light on each other. And today, our focus is going to be on what does an immigrant journey look like? What are some of the challenges individuals face at different ages when they make that transition of becoming an immigrant and coming to another culture in another country? And how are all that trauma and those challenges and that changes shape us, and what helps and what transforms us? And this is going to be such a rich conversation, and I cannot wait for you to meet our guest today. Coach Marson, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Cass, for such an amazing introduction. Good evening, Shen. It's a pleasure. You know what? You are my friend that I have met recently, and when I have heard a little bit of your story, not the whole story, and I'm like, I need to have you on. So who is Shen? So Shen was born in China. He now is raised in America. He is a marketer by trade, life coach at heart. So he helps people capitalize potential. He loves MMA, meditation, and stoicism are his gym. Welcome once again, Shen. And I love to have you on because you know what? You are my first friend from China. And what I would love to hear, what was your journey like moving from China to United States?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me tonight, first of all. And the journey has been quite a long one. So long story short here, I was born in China since 1993. Went through the whole elementary school all the way up to middle school. So I came here around 2007 when I was 14 years old, right? And then at first I spoke a little bit of English because the ways I being raised, they still taught us a little bit of English in school, but it wasn't really conversational. So I really had to be able to overcome my language barrier first. And then there's a cultural barrier, which I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into, right? That is the most difficult part, is coming from a traditional Asian background to motivate westernized American culture, where you have to put yourself in different situations and be able to understand everybody's subculture so that you can find your own sense of belongings and also your true identity, and really be able to pursue a career and also a future for yourself.
So that you packed a lot in that short response. And let's try and unpack that a little, because in there is the true journey, right? So making that transition from China to the United States, the language, the culture, the life experience, all of that moving over. What were some of the challenges you faced, and what did you do to overcome them?
Yeah, so diving deeper into the cultural barrier part, right? Is at first first of all, I wasn't like who I am today in terms of the way that I talk. I used to be very, very shy. I couldn't relate to anybody or couldn't really talk to anybody because I'm putting on a fake front, and I was being a people pleaser, right? So that's something that I noticed very common in our culture too, is the political correctness. So I already had it when I was back in China because I wasn't able to really assert myself and speak up for myself when I faced some sort of adversity, or say if I had some sort of competition with my classmate back in school, right? Rather than standing up for myself and call them out on it, be like, what you saying right there, I disagree with that, or I think that you crossed my boundary, but I just kind of went into silence and I let them walk all over me. And that was the main reason why I got bullied in school. And that's also one of my main motivation to get into martial arts, is really being able to assert myself and really standing up against bullies. So that was one of the main challenges why I already been facing in China, but I faced the similar challenges when I first came here, right? And a huge part of that is the language barrier, right? Because imagine you move to a new continent, you couldn't really speak their language, right? Automatically you get made fun of because you are identified as a foreigner in the other person's eyes, right? And then there's the cultural barrier. So there's a lot of psychological trauma that I had to go through at first. And thankfully though, I was really able to like push myself outside my comfort zone and really put myself in different situations and meet different people, so that I can find again the type of people I can resonate with, and then also stay away from the people that there's just no chemistry whatsoever. And then at first it was quite a struggle, because when I came here around like 8th grade, all I focused dedicate towards, again, master English, one, number two, getting good grades in school. So I didn't really have any sort of like social circle or like extracurricular times to make friends. So one of my like coping mechanism, or my natural escape, is to turn into video games. So like imagine I just came home from school, rather than going out to like play sports with my friends, right, or with people that I just what I just met, I would like turn to video games and then create my community that way. Which now I look at it, it was great, because a lot of video games, the reason why it's a billion-dollar industry, because they make this whole thing so like addictive, and also create an online community so that you don't virtually have to leave your house. You can just get lost in the gaming world and then be able to meet people that way. However, the downside of it, what I realize now as an adult, is that video games, just like any other devices you can think about, like scrolling on social media or like binge watching TV. I mean, all of that is great in moderation, right? So now I view video game as more of an enjoyment, not as an escapism, because I have some root cause, like deep-rooted issues I got to resolve. So that was one of my biggest challenges and realizations I have come to right now, is if I felt like I couldn't connect to people because I have a lot of things I have to work through internally, rather than going to, say, video games or like going for like drinks or what have you, resist the feeling of doing that, but rather go deeper into the issue and really try to figure out the root cause of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Shen, for sharing that. And you know what? I can relate to your story, at the age of 12, moving from Poland to United States. Language barrier was a huge one for me as well. And the whole process of getting acclimated, to the new world, totally different world that we used to live in. And you said that you went through bullying, right? A lot of kids were just bullying you, and maybe you didn't have the courage, right, to stand up for yourself, to really tell, hey, you know what, those are my boundaries. You know what, you cannot step in, and so on. And for you, the escape mechanism, right, the support system that you had maybe was a little bit of a video game, right? Because you did not go out with your friends, you didn't play sports with them, you started playing video games. So my question to you is, when did you start recognizing that, hey, that video game, right, it's maybe a little bit too much, and hey, what do I have to do to really stand up for myself?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And ironically though, I learned a lot about myself actually through playing video games. But to answer back to your question, when was the moment I realized that maybe that was a little bit too much of a coping mechanism, and I should really dive deeper into my issues on being able to stand up for myself? And again, a huge part of that is martial arts. And actually, a small component to that was inspired by video games I used to play, right? Because like, we play those Street Fighter games, like you try to like fight other people in a game, right? So it's like growing up, I have huge admiration to all these like fictional characters in the game. It's Street Fighters and really be able to, you have like big muscles and really be able to, beat up other people, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm living vicariously through this character, like in a game. And I realized that it's like, why not be that character in real life? It's like, be your own hero who's going to save the day, because no one's going to come here and save you at the end of the day. You are the only person who's going to save you, right? So that was the things I realized after playing a certain amount of video games is it's time to be that superhero in real life. And that's why I started signing up martial arts school back in high school. and that was my extracurricular activity. Right now, note that back in high school, I still played a lot of video games, in conjunction with my martial art. So I was able to have fairly amount of like time management. So like school, video games at night, and then there's like a small window like from 7 to 8 p.m. That's like my martial art training, right? So I was able to like squeeze that in. However, the missing piece here, right? It's I got that part some sort of under control. I was really be able to dive deeper into how I can address the issues of not standing up for myself. But then I still don't have a robust like social circle, right? So that's another thing that I was struggling for quite a bit since like freshman, sophomore, and my junior year in high school was getting a little bit better, right? Because at that time my English was very improved, right? And then I was preparing for the SAT test, right? And then in senior years of high school, that's for whatever reason, maybe just out of luck or out of pure luck or whatever, I was actually getting nominated into the homecoming corps in my school, right? And then usually the people who are in homecoming corps are deemed to be like the most popular kids, right? So now I'm reflecting back, I think the reason why I was getting nominated because I was so different than everybody else. It's like this Asian kid just came all the way from the outside of the continent who was obviously obsessed with video games, who's had a great GPA, and then on the top of that, he started like learning martial arts, right? So I think to certain aspect, I remember every single person who bullied me in the past, right? But to certain aspect, there has been a few instances where those people who first bullied me, like back in middle school, later on they witnessed this like little transformation within me. They tend to like just back it down, and then they actually kind of gave me like a very slight hints of acknowledgement. It's like, okay, this guy's actually be able to like standing up for themselves right now, and he's not the person that they want to mess with, right? So I can kind of sense that like back then. So that was like a huge revelation to me, is that whenever I'm running into a problem right now, is yes, it can be traumatizing, yes, it can be scary, but rather than running away from the problem that we face in our lives, the main remedy is to go through it. And that is the only way, is to have the courage to face the challenge head on, rather than putting like a band-aid solution on like a shotgun wound.
I love what you're saying, Shen. Ultimately, it's your mindset, right? And the mindset-based transformation that you're bringing about that helped you get there. And as people saw you make that transformation, they started respecting you and they started backing you off. So along with mindset transformation, there had to be an emotional reckoning. And I know men don't like to talk about the emotional part, but if you are open to it, I really would like for you to talk a little bit about what was that emotional journey like, because mindset transformation is the thinking part, but the feeling part, what was that like? And how did you get to the other side with all of that baggage and still have that mindset shift? There had to be a feeling shift.
Yeah. First of all, I don't mind talking about feelings at all, because I think I do agree with you, the fact that usually men tend to steal away from from the subjects of feelings and emotions is we tend to try to put on this stoic front and try to look like tough in the surface level, but deep down it's like I bet a lot of us we have like more sensitive feelings or like fragile ego than women, right? So for me, if I had to recall that emotional shift that really propelled me to really stand up for myself is I felt at that point of time where like enough is enough, right? And it's kind of like it's a combination of like desperation and then also inspiration at the same time, right? So in a way, it creates this motivational seesaw. Is I'm I'm running away from pain. It is where like the pain of like my theory is that the only reason I got bullied by other people is not necessarily their fault. Sure, like the other person they cannot be like the fact that he's trying to bully other people, then that's his problem. But the reason why I got bullied, if I really think about it, is really something I did to trigger them to bully me. So it's probably the fact that again, things that are outside my control, right? Because I was a foreigner back then, and then I think it's the behaviors and the demeanors I gave out that makes me an easy target for them to pick on, right? So it really makes me to feel like I was very like frustrated and dejected, and I reached to the point where enough is enough, and then I want to move away from the pain of getting bullied, but simultaneously I want to move towards this new outcome, this new identity that I'm trying to achieve, which is like this video game character that I'm trying to be in real life. Is like the Street Fighter, right? So that creates like this proportional system, like moving away from pain, but also moving towards like pleasure, if you will. And then so that once I achieve a certain outcome, it might sound a little bit petty, but a part of my main motivation back then is like I wanted to prove them wrong, right? I want to prove to the other person that hey, I'm stronger right now. But now, as a adult, I look at the same situation a little bit differently. It's like yes, it's one thing to like prove the other person wrong, but what is more importantly is to prove myself right. As I prove myself that I can actually do this, right? And then there's nothing resentful about the other person who would bully me. I tend to practice from the place of like forgiveness right now because there's no good ending coming from holding this grudges or resentment against the other person who's done you wrong, like say the past 20 years, right? Because if I don't forgive the other person, that means I can't forgive myself, right? Because like those bullies, I bet they already forgot about who I am, right? Let alone the incident that happened back in middle school. So why am I torturing myself by still hanging on to this past trauma, right? So that was the emotional shift why I felt that like enough is enough, and I had to do something about it, even though it might sound petty reason is to prove the other person wrong. But I think I needed that initial fuel to feel angry and frustrated so that it can really snap myself out of the victim mindset and really be able to channel that frustration into anger, and then also channel that into courage to actually do something about it.
Wow, that is so powerful, and thank you for sharing it because for us men it's really tough to share our feelings, our emotions, because we have been taught by our society to be strong, to be tough, not to shed a tear. And many times kids in school are being bullied. They do not say anything to their parents or to anyone, and things happen, gun violence, killings, and all those different things. And that's why I'm glad we're speaking about this here today, because it is important to raise this type of issue. And like you said, pain was your fuel, right? Because hey, I want to prove myself to others that I'm not going to be pushed around. So you took action. You started working on yourself, right? You started doing the mindset work, and you were able to rebuild yourself by putting together a hero in your life. That hey, this is who I will be. This is how I will look. This is how I will act, right? this is how I will carry myself. That is, to me, that is so powerful. And did anyone help you with all that, or did you just do it all on your own?
Yeah, so it's a combination of both because naturally I'm an introvert like by default, but even though I don't want to box myself into a specific type, because I'm very into the whole like personality profiling and things like that. However, at the same time, I wouldn't mind asking for outside help when I needed to, right? So I asked like my so I made just a few like good friends back in school, right? And also my a lot of members in my family, they are native Gaofeng, right? So I had like a strict like a fairly strict like parents. So I talked to them about all these issues, right? So they thankfully they were able to provide me some guidance on how to be able to like process those emotions in a healthy way rather than like shaming or like guilt or fears or all those negative emotions. So in a way, I was able to ask outside help, but simultaneously, I'm a very introspective. So I still do this to the present day. Like I journal every single day religiously. Yeah, I meditate every day religiously because there's a lot of things happening in our life that's outside our control. But even then, we know that consciously and logically, but our brain is still not as evolved as to our like neocortex, our like logical brain, right? So it's mandatory for me to really part of my like winding down ritual is really be able to recapitulate and trace back to every little things that happened throughout my day, and then just make note of that. And then actually at the end of the week, I'll look at all the journals I've done for the past like 7 days and try to see if there's any sort of recurring patterns of like either negative self-talk, self-sabotage, or anything that is giving this little clue or like hints on what has happened in my childhood that makes me to react or behave in a certain way because I still get triggered a lot, right? But thankfully I found this technique that I learned from this other mentor of mine. He's a transformation coach, and the way that he said about like how to deal with like being triggered, it's the best time to like do a release, like whatever that the feelings that you have is when you're getting triggered. That means that our reaction is disproportionate to the reality. And that's what called getting triggered. So I still get triggered all the time, but I just learn how to like take a deep breath and just really be able to like process it. But sometimes I still like talk to other people because I still have a huge ego too. And me being like so logical, I'm like very in my head. And that's why like I like to go to the gym. I actually like do martial arts so that I can really do whatever I can to get out of my head and then get back into my body and it really reclaim my power back and have faith and trust in myself and really rely on my intuition rather than really just try to think things through. But I should really be able to like, there's just like this famous saying, I forgot who said that, but it's like, rather than thinking our way into a new way of doing, we should be acting our way into a new way of thinking. So that we have like a mind-body integration. And that's something that I still try to master like 1% at a time.
That is brilliantly said, Shen. I do emotional intelligence coaching, and that is helping people put their thinking, their feeling, and their actions together instead of living in one of those three. Because as a whole person, we have to bring all three together, right? So what you're speaking about truly resonates for me because executive coaching is just that, helping leaders bring all of those three in an integrated way so that the leader shows up as a whole person and therefore they influence the transformation for everybody who's within their sphere of influence. So 2 things. A, how can people get a hold of you? And B, what are some of the ways you help people now that you have gone through this journey yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I just started my own YouTube channel, actually, specifically in the self-help journey. But right now, my main presence is on Instagram and also TikTok, which I can drop my handle or my link in the chat, right? And in terms of the vehicle or the ways that I try to help my future audience uh, through the topics that we just discussed today, is again to share my personal journey with you guys as I just talk about it for the past 30 minutes. And I'm continuously pumping out content using my whiteboard. Marston, you might have seen some of it. It's really talk about the disconnect between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, and also doing a lot of shadow work and asking ourselves like shadow questions, such as, why am I not good enough to begin with? And why don't my parents love me? And why is that completely my fault? Like asking all these uncomfortable questions is supposed to like trigger something from my subconscious mind and see if that's going to give me a real data on the things that I can address and be able to like trace back to my childhood and things that might have happened, rather than again running to say video games or alcohol or what have you as a band-aid solution, right, to a deeper wound. So that's something that I've been practicing firsthand, because I'm a huge believer that be able to practice what I preach, and also putting the content out there, my real version out there, and really just unmasking ourselves and be our true authentic ourselves, and also still make it relatable to the people we're speaking. But the core is we have to be authentic so that we can connect with other people and attract other people who are authentic. Because me, I work in sales and marketing for the past, like, since I graduated college back in 2017. And especially in the worlds like sales and marketing, it's so easy to like putting on this front to like pretend like you are very charismatic and you want to be able to like woo your customer. I mean, all of that is awesome, but I'm an avid believer on authenticity, because if I know for the fact that, say, if I'm a car salesman, right? But if I know for the fact that this car is exactly what you need and also what you're looking for, and also something that's within your budget range, then it is my responsibility for you to realize the value of this car and you buy this car so that you can thank me later. However, if I know that this car ain't gonna do you anything and it's outside your pricing range, then I'm not gonna be one of those sleazy car salespersons, like, just try to hard sell you into something that is not meant for you. So I'm very honest when it comes down to like business, but also I'm applying that to my personal life, because how we do anything is how we do everything. And I want to really be able to anchor everything I do in terms of authenticity and truth, and also like mastery, because we can always get better 1% at a time. There's like this whole like Kaizen mentality that getting continuous never-ending improvement. And for me, is I'm more about be that stone cutter, just be able to make a small shaving so that eventually it makes a pile. And then that's the things that I really, really enjoy doing. And those will be the things I want to share with my audience. And then also input that into my personal coaching philosophy, into my upcoming life coaching practice.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Shen, for sharing. I really do appreciate you, appreciate your time, for being here today, and sharing your story, how you were able to come from China to United States, how through pain you were able to rebuild, you're able to heal yourself and rebuild your self-image as this new hero that you are today, right now. And you are on an amazing journey, because you will inspire, you will empower many men, many women that are out there in our communities and in our societies. And I'm very grateful for you and for being so open and transparent with us here today. Really do appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely look forward to, listen to more of the podcast here, right? And as I mentioned before, I'm very, very passionate about anything to do with self-development, relationships, and also like trauma release. And again, talk about relationship. That's another thing that I've discovered lately, is that whether it's we having a issue with like business relationships or personal relationships, like with our significant other or with our family members, what I have concluded so far, which I could be wrong, but what I concluded so far is that there's no such a thing as a business problem or a relationship problem. It's all coming down to us. Because like the relationship that we have with ourselves is the most important, and how we treat ourselves is going to be reflecting how we're going to treat other people. So if say somebody's acting up, as your significant other or family member, there's a saying that if you spot it, you got it. So if they're getting triggered and you're getting triggered with them, that gives a lot of data on the things that both of you two need to work on. And the same goes with a business deal. If the other person is they are quote unquote rejecting you, they give you a no, but then you getting triggered, there's nothing wrong with the other person. It just means that probably there's no chemistry or there's no like product market fit. But then if I'm getting triggered, like way out of proportion, that means there's something that I have to work through like internally.
Fantastic. And it has been such a pleasure having you as a guest, Shen. And Coach Marson summarized it beautifully. We are glad we got this opportunity. We're grateful our audience are going to get to hear your message, hear your journey. And it's our hope and our wish that this creates an introspective journey for everybody so that they can take a journey within and realize what they need to do, because change happens from the inside out, right? And if they need help, they know who to call. If they have questions, they know where to reach you. We'll make sure everything is included in the release on YouTube. And so thank you so very much, and we appreciate you very much for openly sharing. And to our audience out there, as we bring this to a close, we each go through trauma in life. That's a given. Our traumas are different, but our traumas are still trauma for us. There is no trauma more impactful or no negative impact larger than the other, because for each of us, what we went through is trauma. So stop comparing it and figure out a way to deal with it and rise above it. Because in that rising above is your true superpower, because there is a superhero inside every one of us, just like Shen just shared today. So find your superhero, be your own knight in shining armor, and rescue yourself. Because in that rescue is where you are going to see the true gem that is inside of you that is going to brighten up the world.